Well, we apologize profusely for that. We'll bring you that story in the course of the broadcast. Meanwhile, we can turn attention to the Ashanti region, where hip live artist Kwakese would spend the Christmas and the New Year behind bars after Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly Court refused to grant him bail. Erastus Desari Donkos, Amanda has joined me over the telephone for more. Erastus.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us about what happened in court today?
Well, if you realize now, the whole proceedings have shifted from bail applications to the trial itself, because the last appearance in court at the High Court, where the lawyer tried to review the decision of the Kumasi KMA Circuit Court to grant him bail, he went to the higher court to review that decision. It was denied that he cannot be granted bail. So now the prosecution indicated at that time that they were ready for trial. And so yesterday they were supposed to go into the trial, take his plea, and then move on with the trial. But then his lawyer pleaded that he was sick, he wasn't in court, he couldn't appear, and so it was adjourned to today. Today too, when he appeared, he had his head shaved. He was looking a bit sick, because you could see him looking down all the time with his face a bit puffed up in a way which seems to suggest he's sick. And then the lawyer rose up, told the court that he thinks that his client is sick and cannot go through the trial. He was even supposed to see a doctor today for review. So if the judge could adjourn the case briefly for them to go to the hospital and come back. But the judge said no, he cannot do that, and so he cannot wait for Kwao to go to hospital and come back. And so he is adjourning the case to the 5th of January 2015.
In other words, the gentleman could spend Christmas Day, would spend Christmas Day and New Year there. But after the proceeding, what was the reaction of counsel who's been denied for the 3rd time his bail application for his client?
Well, now, the whole thing is that when he comes back from the 5th, he's going for trial. And so the judge said he's waiting for the 5th of January. When they bring him, he's still be taken, and then he'll go straight into the trial. So bail is out for now.
Very well. How did the lawyer for Kwao react to that?
Well, he at the point that he was crying, he was shedding tears, and he was telling the judge, that was what he said at the point in time to the judge. But then the judge said, well, take him back to prison custody, bring him back on the 5th of January.
Very well. Erastus, many thanks for that information. Erastus Asari Donko joined us from the Ashanti region, where a hip live artist called Kwakese has been denied bail for the 3rd time in the Ashanti regional capital. He's to reappear in court on January 5, 2015. We'll stay in the courtrooms this time in Accra. 6 persons standing trial in the Nile Ametepe cocaine saga have been granted bail by an Accra Circuit Court. The presiding judge, Justice Francis Obiri, pegged the bail amounted to 100,000 Ghana cedis, so 3 sureties.
We can only be grateful to the court.
Okay.
As I said yesterday, we expected the court to err on the side of justice, fairness and equity. It's quite obvious that from day one, the court was minded to grant the accused person's bail, but it was premised on the fact that the prosecution needed much time to terminate their investigations. As the court just said, between the time they were arrested and arraigned before the court and now is much long time, enough for the prosecution to have completed the investigations. And since they themselves said today that they are still persisting in their investigation. This was just right and proper for the court to have granted the accused person's bail, as we have all seen in court this morning.
Counsel, you pressed hard for the review on the civil servant's amount that is supposed to have in his account, and also you wanted the civil servant part to be expunged from the ruling, and the judge continued to, you know, make it stay. What do you have to say about that?
I think that this new trend of bail conditions is quite novel to our criminal jurisprudence. Normally, since offences are criminal in nature and public servants are clothed with a certain level of integrity, you hardly get public or civil servants standing surety in criminal cases. So this condition is quite onerous. But be that as it may, that is what the court has said. We'll abide by the court's decision.
So this is just a bill. Now, how sure are you that your clients are going to be rid of all these, you know, charges against?
Now you want me to be a clairvoyant. I am not a clairvoyant. I'm just a simple human being. I cannot think into the future. I can only think about the present.
We are not there yet. We are not there yet. Yes, yeah, sure. Thank you so much too. Thank you. Bye.
And give us the surety bit.
Yeah, the surety aspect is that, you know, the bail is 100,000. That is it 100,000 or 100,000? So it means that if, let's say, in the course of the trial, they don't appear in court again, those who choose surety are to pay the 100,000. That is together, the three of them together. And then the justification is, you know, presenting an injunction which is registered. You understand? So that, you know, so that if, let's say, the person doesn't, you know, appear in court, then that property can be sold to cover up the 100,000 bail bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, are you okay with the 1,000 cities that whoever is going to stand surety must possess in his?
That is good. You know, in Ghana, for instance, how many public servants earn more than, you know, 15,000? So I think the 10,000, 1,000 is okay. You know, so it means any normal public servant can, you know, stand surety.
Are you okay with the ruling in its entirety?
Of course, yes, I'm very okay. You know, yesterday I made a lot of noise that when the Attorney General was not there, I said that, you know, my colleagues were saying that we should stand the case down. But I told the court that no, we can't stand the case down because they are supposed to be in court by 8:30, and that is when the court starts. You know, and I think the judge found wisdom in what I was saying. So he said that I should make a submission so that, you know, and then I made a submission, and my colleagues also, you know, aligned with me. And that is the reason why we are having bail today. Because yesterday, if we had not made any attempt to make another submission, probably wouldn't have had the bail today. Yeah. So, you know, I think that we have done a good job. Yes. No. All my colleagues and my seniors, we have done a good job, you know.
Exactly. Now, so you've gotten a bail for your client. Yeah. It's just a bail. Yes. Now, going forward, do you foresee your client getting complete, you know, exoneration?
As for me, I believe seriously that my client, Theophilus Kusi, will, you know, go scot-free.
What about the accomplice?
I can't talk for them because my client took instructions from his, you know, his superior officer. You know, imagine you were in a certain position, your superior officer gives you instructions and you refuse to take it. What do you think will have happened? You definitely have been dismissed.
Exactly.
You understand? So he acted on the instructions of his, and then his superior officer has not denied the fact that he gave him the instructions.
Okay. Now, wouldn't you say that if your superior gives you an instruction, you're supposed to at least go through whatever you've been given to ensure that it's safe enough?
Not in this case. If your superior tells you go and kill your mother, would you go and kill your mother? No. Those are instructions that you must think twice. But under normal, you know, working situation, if you are given instructions, you don't have to refuse.
Away from that, Member of Parliament for Minshia South, Dr. Matthew Ubuku Prempe, says the decision by the presidency to cut Parliament's budget by 30% will affect work of the House in 2015. Speaking to Mio News Desk, the Minshia South Member of Parliament noted this should never have happened, as the budget does not even come any close to that of the presidency. About the concerns of people from outside of Parliament, that even when Parliament had the full complement of its budget, very little was seen.
Probably you are right, probably you are wrong. I don't think Parliament has ever had its full complement of budget. What I'm talking about is the fact that the way and manner in which the budget was cut this time is bad, and it should never happen again. As to people doing an assessment and saying that Parliament is not living up to expectations, there are a lot of reasons for that. And I think we can deal with that issue if you want us to. But it is just wrong for Parliament's budget to be cut. And I said something very fundamental. When you compare Ghana's Parliament to West Africa, we have the most prudent Parliament. And I'm also saying that in this year, the budget we requested is even less than 0.6%, 0.6% of the executive total budget. Even when you add all the governance institutions, we are not even asking for 3% of the total budget. So 97% of the budget is being spent by the second. And if for those institutions that should make democracy work are being stifled this way, then I think there's a problem.
But when we flip the page, Majority Leader Alban Bagbinis made mention of the fact that proposals will be made, or they'll look into the fact that, you know, during the supplementary budgets it will be included, so Parliament could have the rest of what it requested. Does it not solve the situation?
I would only ask, is supplementary budget becoming a thing of the norm? That is even bad governance. If you do a budget and it's so out of date, like that you can even, before you start appropriating that budget, you start talking about supplementary budget. Then what process went through the whole thing? What process went through the whole thing? That means it's either your estimates or your estimates are so bad, or you didn't think through your estimates very well, or something. Because I don't understand this thing. Canada is beginning to become a country so badly governed that before you even finish your budget for the year, you already start talking about supplementary budget. We were not in Parliament last night to appropriate supplementary budget. We were in Parliament last night to appropriate a budget for the year. And if the excuse is that, oh, if you have given you, when we come to supplementary budget, wow.
What now? It looks like you already passed it.
Yes, we have passed it. And it doesn't only affect Parliament. An institution like the Electoral Commission, their budget is so woefully inadequate that the excuse has been given that we should wait for supplementary budget. So we are waiting. And when it gets there, we will talk. That if we want to practice good governance, then these things must be worked out before we come out. If it is determined when you get to Parliament and an issue is raised, and you say supplementary budget, then why don't you make a point that before you bring an issue to Parliament, you consult leadership of Parliament, leadership of those ICRs, independent government institutions, to know what they are thinking and to pass the budget before they even finish. But I'll give you another example. When Shirai went to the budget hearing, it went with the budget. The ministry said, I'm giving you a ceiling up to this amount. Go and prepare a budget within that ceiling. They went and prepared a budget within that ceiling. And when the budget finally came to Parliament, it had been cut and cut, woefully such that they were given less than they were given last year. What kind of governance institution do we want to build in this country? That is why I say, what has gone through the budget this year probably is not the best example.
The same program, Executive Director for the Parliamentary Centre, Dr. Rashid Draman, had said the decision to cut the budget of Parliament is bad for the fight against corruption. Speaking on the program, Dr. Rashid Draman noted Parliament should also carry the blame as the House is not united.
Yesterday was a very bad day for our democracy, and I strongly suggest that Parliament should take a very serious look at this. I think we need to get to a point where our Parliament is able to assert itself in terms of determining its own resources. Otherwise, yes.
Dr. Draman, I know I've been through this with Dr. Poku Prempeh, but perhaps I still want more on it. Is there nothing like judicious use of scarce resources when it comes to Parliament?
I don't understand your question.
In that, perhaps for a country that doesn't have the money, like we have been told over time, shouldn't we be able to squeeze from one place to the other to be able to, run the country completely?
So we are saying that Parliament should make do with whatever it has been given. Is that the point you are saying?
Is it possible for Parliament to make do for what it has been given?
Well, I think that you have to see it. You have to see it in another way. Giving money to Parliament so that Parliament can exercise its oversight responsibilities is another way of ensuring that we use scarce resources judiciously. Because when Parliament is up and doing and can exercise its oversight responsibilities effectively, then we are not going to see a lot of the waste that we see. So, in other words, if you give Parliament all the money it needs, all the resources it needs, it's going to save the country millions and millions of dollars. So that's how you should see it. And that's the way I see it. That the executive can say, this is what I'm going to give you. I think it's bad for our Parliament. It's bad for oversight. It's bad for the fight against corruption. And that is what Parliament should fight strongly against. There is no discussion when it comes to the budget of Parliament. The budget of Parliament should be sacrosanct. Whatever Parliament demands should be given to it. And I think that Parliament has the power. So sometimes I don't blame the executive. I don't blame the executive at all when these things happen. You blame Parliament.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, David Agbe, says the move could increase corruption going into 2015 as Parliament could consider a number of bills, including the Petroleum Revenue Management Bill. Of this, what does this say about our country? This whole situation being described as an interference by the executive arm, and some parliamentarians describe it as a deliberate attempt by the president to cripple the work of Parliament. What does it say?
Not to cripple works of Parliament, but we are foreseeing that. I made mention of the Petroleum Exploration Bill. You will see that now that the budget has been cut, all the oil companies are going to lobby Parliamentary and give them heavy money, and then the bill will be passed, and then the Ghanaians will suffer. That is what is going to happen. And so when state institutions like Parliament, judiciary, and other organizations, their budget is being slashed, there is that tendency that corruption is going to be engaged. We are going to see corruption. I was fortunate to have met the Chief Justice of Brazil, Barbosa, and one of the key things that he touched on was the fact that when judiciary, their budget is being slashed, Parliament and other state institutions, there is that possibility that they are going to find a way to bend a certain curve. So we are going to see those displayed in Parliament 2015. Critical bill like Petroleum Exploration Bill. Here we are. All the oil companies are taking everything away. What Ghana is expecting to gain from the oil find is only about taxations and all that. They are not thinking about what we call fiscal regime, which talks about the economic benefit of Ghana. Everybody is only talking about Petroleum Revenue Management Bill and all that, but we are not talking about the fiscal regime or the fiscal policy that tax on the benefits, what is going to be accrued to Ghana. So, I could see that the executive is trying to. Yes, the executive is trying to make sure that they push in the bill, because the executive, I must say that they do not know much about these oil and other things, and they are not consulting anybody. Even if you want to teach them, they said, "Oh, we know everything already," and that is what is happening. So Parliament is going to suffer 2015, and corruption, you the media will have a huge tax again, that corruption is going to manifest in Parliament again, and corruption is going to manifest in governance process.
Parties fingered in the Brazil 2014 kickback scandal have been reacting to the Joy News investigative piece. Now, this piece by Manasseh Azuri Awane reveals that Evolution, that was paid $1 million Ghana cedis to put up viewing centers across 4 cities in the country, allegedly paid some kickbacks to the former Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Efriye Ankra, the GMPC, and the World Cup Organizing Committee here in Ghana. Here are excerpts of those reactions.
Alex, did Evolution pay money to Samuel Ledo of GNPC?
I have listened to the conversation between Manasseh and Mr. Ledo. Okay? From circumstantial point of view, it appears that some monies may have moved from Evolution to Samuel Ledo. But I'm not going to state categorically, especially when I was not even there personally, to say that, okay, we paid money to this man. Because we have given some circumstantial evidence which seem to suggest that some monies were taken from Evolution accounts, and then it was paid into one Samuel Ledo's account. All right? So we will take it as you have seen. But I would not come and say that, yes, Evolution paid money to Samuel Ledo. It is something that I have not seen.
Now, I have here an intercepted copy of the complaint made by Evolution to the police, following Manasseh's approach to them. And this complaint is signed by Fred Darko, and it's asking for 2 things. One, Fred Darko wants the police to investigate whether the signatures were forged and who forged them. He also wants the police to investigate how internal vouchers got into the hands and custody of Manasseh. There isn't any mention here of whether or not individuals were paid kickbacks. He is not asking the police to investigate that. He just wants them to look into whether or not this is forged, how Manasseh got them. Would this give you any relief?
Look, Fred Darko's, what you just read to me is a company's position, the company asking the police to investigate how their internal documents leaked. That's their issue. What will give us relief, what will give me relief, is there is investigation that says, was any money paid to Joel Neti? 1. Was any money paid to the members of the World Cup Committee? 2. And if so, when, where, and how? That is what will give me relief. Whatever it is that Fred wants to do, whatever it is that indeed the other individual members of the committee want to do, is really up to them. Somebody may want to sue somebody may want to do this, that, or the other. That's really up to them. But in terms of reliefs, I think the most important thing right now, because we sit here hand on heart saying that we received no money, is to investigate and say if indeed, and you see Manasseh for the second one went through the process and said this money was cashed, this money was paid to this person, this money ended up in this account. I think we should follow through on the same premise on all the others. Who cashed the money? I mean, I've asked the question several times. Where is the director of the so-called director of Evolution? Who signed it? Bring them here, or at least let somebody speak to them, because in all of this, I haven't heard any mention of the director, the finance director of Evolution. Did he cash the money? I found out from Manasseh this morning that apparently that money was paid to Fred. Okay, so whether it's Fred or through his lawyer, let Fred tell the world, did he receive any such money that was supposed to be for the operational for the World Cup Committee? And if he did, what did he do with it?
Well, Manasseh
if he didn't, and from what Manasseh said, if he didn't, and it was supposed to be an internal money that was used for something else, somebody needs to explain to us and all those who care about us how it is that there's a voucher that says that some money was paid to the World Cup Committee. If it's forged, who forged it? And
so why don't you send an issue like this to the appropriate authorities, the BNI? I was going to ask for it.
I'm a storyteller.
No, I agree. But then, please, you are dealing with an issue that has to do with people's reputations, all right? my 14-year-old child asked me whether his daddy took this money. That is the extent to which this issue is going. So when everything is about allegation, and limitations in information gathering, and yet the conclusion seems to be targeting a certain group. The reason when Kojo asked that question, I wanted to add up. Who hasn't heard Omodiska and Omodiska and Omodiska? Who hasn't heard it? When this whole thing was going on, and a committee, not Diska and Omodiska, it has entered the bloodstream of a lot of people.
Okay, and that is why we are here.
Suffered consequences far beyond what you can imagine. All right? So please, when investigations such as this is going on, and we have security systems in place, now let me say the appropriate authorities who can, by your own admission, draw conclusion or have coercive powers to probe further, you are limited. You have limitations. So give it to those who can handle this thing and monitor. For me as a journalist, that would have been the best.
Well, let me just come here.
Because I'm also told that you've been invited to. Yesterday I listened to Samson, and he says you have no business going there and all of that. Yes. But then you are hanging people in the middle there for the whole Ghanaian populace to sing. It's all even gone beyond. People call you from outside. Why hasn't this World Cup thing ended? It is painful, my brother. It is. In as much as you are doing your work, engage the appropriate authorities and let them do it. If I'm a thief, let the state prove it that I am a thief. Not any journalist telling the whole world that this thing and tell the story and leaves it hanging, and yet the perception is drawn.
Yeah, can I come in here, please?
Horace, we'll hear from you.
Yeah. I share the sentiments of my brothers here. Because, I personally remember when I had a call from the minister to actually come in and help. And I went there and I met a cream of people that I straight away noticed that I've met a cream of people with some form of integrity. And we went in there to carry out a job. And for all that sacrificial things that we did, nobody even gave us any kind of monies for petrol and stuff like that. Yeah, to the extent that some of us, Horace Sankra, when I didn't travel to Brazil, I returned, my per diem to the ministry. That's the kind of level of people that you're dealing with. I returned my per diem. I have evidence in the presence of the minister. I know what others did. Joanette is spending his own money, making sure that when we go for meetings, we are fed. I use my own money, making sure that my subcommittee, when members came for meetings, they are fed. So many sacrificial things. Monies that we were given, we paid tax on it. The evidence is there. If Manasseh wants those evidence, for him to also show it in public, he can have them. Did we not pay tax on those? We did. Everything that came to us, came to us in the form of sitting allowance. Let me tell you.
How much?
Just a minute.
No, please state it.
It was 100 Ghana cedis. Listen, even when people were suggesting, that look, things have changed. The minister insisted that he wasn't going to increase any monies from what the 2010 committees received.
And it's a very hot afternoon here because hot issues are coming up. And I start the show today with my colleague from Joy News, Manasseh Awuni Azuri, and he has actually he actually undertook an investigative piece, and he has uncovered alleged payments of kickbacks from Evolution International to some members of the committee that planned Ghana's participation in the 2014 World Cup finals in Brazil. And actually, those some of those people were here at the Joy FM studios this morning to deny the reports. But Manasseh, this is what you have uncovered. Do you still stand by your words?
Well, I stand by whatever we put out there, and they were not the only people cited. There were 3 vouchers, 1 to Elvis, 1 to the committee, and 1 to GMPC. We got figures
all from Evolution.
Evolution, and then we, from the vouchers, we proceeded to Evolution account and realized that those monies were withdrawn. And our information was that the ones for Elvis and the committee was given to Fred Darkon by cash, and we also had information that the GMPC one was given to the accountant to pay into the account of one Samuel Ledo, who is the chief procurement officer of GMPC. We went into it and we realized that yes, the money was indeed paid. So we got information, we put the information out there. If someone is saying, okay, something is not true or some documents are forged and whatever, it is their duty to now provide evidence to show that these are not genuine documents or whatever. But what we have, at least, we've been able to trace one from the beginning to the end where the money was paid, and the person actually admitted the money was paid.
Okay, so Manasseh, I mean, let's cut the long story short. Has any of the members called you? I mean, after this news went viral yesterday.
No, nobody called me. I actually spoke to all of them, including Elvis Afriankra. I spoke to all parties concerned before the story went. So the fact that we have been unfair to people, I don't really get it, because we spoke to every one of them, got their side of the story, and added it in our report.
But so they are saying that some of the documents you've gotten are forged documents.
I do not think perhaps it's in their power to say which document is true or not. The documents are from an institution, and if the institution is saying so, I also went to that institution and asked them about to tell me whether the signatures were those of Fred Darkons or not. And they said, oh, one of them was in question, but the other 2, they wouldn't comment. So I gave everyone the opportunity to respond before the story went.
Okay. All right, Manasseh, I mean, we'll leave it for here because we know you have other duties to perform, and so we'll just carry on from here and then see you subsequently. All right.
From sports, we can now look into some business stories. And Chief Executive Officer of the Bulk Oil Distribution Company, Senyo Hosi, has said government should not succumb to mounting pressure by sections of the public for fuel prices to be reduced. The over-recoveries being realized in the wake of falling crude oil price could help government clear a debt backlog of some $1.5 billion it owes the BDCs. The National Petroleum Authority, which regulates the downstream petroleum sector, at its bi-weekly meeting last week maintained the price of fuel at the pumps for at least the next 2 weeks, a decision that has received wide public criticism. Petrol continues to sell at 3.39 Ghana cedis per litre, diesel at 3.3 Ghana cedis, kerosene at 3.25 Ghana cedis, as well as LPG going for 2.94 per kilogram. Oil prices have gone down by half since June, due mainly to slowing economic growth in developing nations, particularly China. Saudi Arabia's oil minister Ali Al-Naimi has said all oil producers cartel OPEC will not cut production even if the price falls to $20 a barrel. His comments reinforce OPEC's recent policy change away from restricting outputs as prices fall. In November, OPEC said it would keep its target output as 30 million barrels per day. The price of Brent crude oil has fallen by more than 46% since hitting its $116 peak in June. The world might not see the oil price back at $100 per barrel again, he added. Now, International Monetary Fund economists have speculated that low oil price could boost the global economy by up to 0.7% next year. Well, in other news, the Forum for Public Sector Registered Pension Schemes is calling on President Mahama not to sign an amendment bill to the Pensions Act passed by Parliament about a week ago. The amendment sees accrued benefits to pensioners in the country reduced from 50% to 37.5%, a situation the workers say will worsen the plight of pensioners who already face a number of challenges. The workers say This amendment by the Joint Committee on Finance and Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises of Parliament did not seek their input before passing the bill.
The public sector workers are still in a limbo as to the realization of the highly touted benefits under Act 766. The forum wishes to state further that pensions affect the future of workers. It is therefore wrong on the part of government to have proceeded with amendments to the Pension Act 766 without recourse to workers. At the formulation stage of this act, there was massive stakeholder consultation throughout the country before the Act 766 was finally passed. It therefore raises a lot of questions why an amendment to it should be rushed through without consulting the major stakeholders. We see this amendment as part of a grand design by government to divert attention from the call by public sector unions and associations for government to desist from interfering in the operations of the second-tier operational pension schemes. The net effect of this amendment is a further reduction of the paltry benefits workers receive from SNIT. These changes are said to have been occasioned by unsustainability under the first year. We would wish to plead with His Excellency, the President, not to append his signature to the amendment bill and refer it back to Parliament for further stakeholder consultation.